Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 2nd June 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Haribol TRSV nectar NECTAR nectar. In this particular vlog, in all our previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of what we have been doing in my other videos. Kindly subscribe to my vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous videos. So let us start our discussion of the topic of today. The most complex yet blissful and intriguing machinery ever been made in this material world is that of the average human living entity. We all belong to that category. Each one of us is a walking, talking, human living entity. Every birth after birth, death after death, we change our gross bodies, but as living entities, we shall remain in this material world as long as we keep taking such births. This particular human living entity and his machinery is quite complex in the sense that it is a fantastic combination of a spirit soul and gross bodies which have enveloped it in this material world. This is a very rare combination. Either a thing could be totally spiritual or it could have been totally material. But as human living entities, we are a combination of two exact opposites who have been living like that for times immemorial. This envelope or capsule that envelops the spirit soul is made up of four layers. They are the causal intelligence body of logic, the astral mind body of feelings, minds, and emotions, and the etheric body of five senses, plus a gross body that envelops everything, including the three bodies, and the spirit soul. Now, there are five very different elements in this material world which make up this capsule or layers of material body. They are ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Ether, the first element, makes up the three first bodies, and hence they are subtle and invisible. The four elements that are remaining, that is, air, fire, water, and earth, make up the last layer of gross body. Every living entity in this material world is identified by that fourth layer called gross body. This gross body has five subtle chakras that are placed at equal distance in the spinal cord of that particular gross body. I said subtle because though these chakras do exist, they are considered to be imaginary and invisible to the naked eye. Similarly, there is a dormant serpent of imaginary, subtle, and invisible energy called the Kundalini serpent, which is lying dormant at the base of the spinal cord. I am mentioning this, which I have talked to about in detail in my previous videos, because it would help every human living entity interested in spiritualism to understand himself or herself better. According to Sri Yogananda Paramahansa, the internationally renowned saint who founded the Yogoda Satsang Society of India, our body is nothing but energy in different forms. These forms come in the form of ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And beyond this, there is the spiritual energy. This is a reservoir of energy which is continuously filling up according to the destiny, karma, whims, fantasies, trials, errors, perseverance, and practice of a human living entity. This Kundalini serpent of dormant energy belongs to that category only. It is dormant and it has to be activated by a particular human living entity. This type of Kundalini serpent of energy exists or lies dormant on the base of the spinal cord of every human living entity, whether male or female. These are things which will make us understand things better. I told you that there are seven chakras. The base chakra is called Mooladhara or first chakra. Second is called Swadhisthana chakra. Third is called Manipurika chakra. Fourth is called Anahata Chakra. Fifth is called Agya Chakra. Sixth is Vishuddhi Chakra. And seventh, the final one that makes the living entity catapult into spiritualism is the Sahasrara Chakra. It is quite interesting to note that when you try to understand this living entity fully, among these chakras, the seventh Sahasrara, the sixth Agya, and the fifth Vishuddhi chakras are balanced right from the beginning. That is, a person need not work much in balancing these three chakras during his or her contemplation or meditation. However, the first four chakras need a lot of balancing because, love it or not, believe it or not, all the problems for a living entity trying to get spiritual come from these four chakras. Even in the material world, a person goes through a lot of tension, pressures, depressions, uneasiness, confusion, anger, etc., thanks to these four chakras. We know from Bhagavad Gita that every human living entity is likely to suffer from one or more of the five negative qualities, that is, kama, lust, krodha, anger, moha, illusion, lobha, greed, and ahankara, ego. Before proceeding further, let me delve on this topic of ahankara. Besides this gross body made of five elements with four layers, there is a thing called a catalyst which helps or destroys a human living entity because of its own energy. This particular ingredient is known as ego. This ego is of three types, sorry, not five, three types. First is called false ego. This false ego is when a living entity mistakenly identifies himself or herself with this gross body without realizing or remembering that he or she gets a gross body after every birth. The second is the ego. This ego is from the soul. The human living entity identifies himself or herself with his or her soul. This is a perfect ego. Here, the human living entity realizes that though the three subtle bodies may remain the same, the fourth gross body keeps changing in his or her lifetime. Further, all these four layers are not spiritual but material. We all know that the spirit soul is qualitatively a superior energy of the Lord, whereas the material energy is qualitatively inferior energy of the Lord. In other words, a person becomes a living entity only when this superior energy of spirit soul is enveloped by the four layers of inferior energy of material world. Thus, it is a combination of both, as a result of which this living entity watches on helplessly when he or she has to identify himself or herself as the body made up of four layers. He or she is forced to conveniently forget the fact that he or she is actually the soul. There is a third type of ego. It is the most superior of all three and is known as superego. In the superego, this particular living entity forgets that he or she is the body, that he or she is the soul, but remembers that he or she is a part and parcel of the super soul and the super energy or the complete reservoir of spiritual whole energy. Thus, there are three types of egos. Further, there are three types of memories which play a lot of games or they play a large part in the lives of a human living entity. They are as follows. First, unconscious memory. This memory, which is embedded as a dormant memory in the psyche of a human living entity, are those which have been embedded in his or her psyche for time immemorial while he or she took several births as cell, algae, insects, worms, weeds, shrubs, trees, amphibians, reptiles, animals, bees, birds, and other human living beings. I have already mentioned before that even in human species there are at least 4 lakh categories. In other words, there are at least 4 lakh different types of human beings, and usually one particular soul has to go through one or few or many or all of these 4 lakh human births before getting totally evolved and becoming a self-realized soul. Self-realization, realizing the truth about oneself. I have given you an introduction of the life of every human living entity. We must understand this before proceeding further to become spiritual and self realized. That is or should be the main aim of our lives. When we understand ourselves better, in that case, it helps us in getting self realized. This video is an introductory part of this particular subject. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular topic. Please give me your own opinions, thoughts, views, and ideas so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.